Welcome back from fall break, ladies and gentlemen. Not a lot has happened since you've seen us, believe it or not, so we'll just have to improvise.
From revenge on an old friend to big-time trades, we're covering more than ever before.
Revenge is a dish best served cold, but last Friday it was served cold, windy, and with at one point a little bit rainy. Nevin Tutterow came into Westfield seeking a win for his new team in Franklin Central, but all he received was a crushing defeat.
The Rocks defense shut down the flat Franklin Central offense for the majority of the night, the exceptions being the 3 drives that the Flashes scored. The aforementioned transfer Tutterow couldn't get anything done in the harsh conditions that night, throwing 9 for 25 and a measly 113 yards and an interception.
FC's offense relied on an up and down ground attack and big plays through the air. An early pass was thrown to try and establish a pass game, but it turned into one of the wildest plays of the game. Let's take a listen as the play unfolds.
Tutterow receives a snap, looking, tipped, and intercepted! Tyler Dykes gets the interception, fumbles, recovered by Linsky, and a touchdown!
Casey Graybill tipped it, Tyler Dykes intercepted and fumbled it, and Andrew Linsky recovered and scored. Outside of the defense being dominant early, the offense can't go unnoticed. Micah Webster and Parker Knott were the sophomore sensations and combined for 3 receptions, 89 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the first quarter alone.
Let me take some time to shout out the special teams warrior himself, Mr. Brody Babe. On 5 kickoffs, he had 5 touchbacks, and on 6 punts, he had 3 inside the 20. He's been electric the past couple weeks, and that certainly bodes well for the upcoming sectional game against Carmel.
The girls volleyball team did not end their season how they wanted to, suffering a loss to HSE in sectionals.
Let's not kid ourselves, Aiden. They had an amazing season, highlighted by an upset win over Fishers on senior night. They ended the season with a 14-12 record. Given their record, though, I can positively say that this team was better than their record.
That is absolutely true. In fact, our own Mallory Weber ended the season leading the conference in digs with 492 and was 9th in 4A in that same stat. Though this team is losing some great seniors, Westfield volleyball fans have a lot to look forward to for years to come.
For starters, 3 of the top 4 leaders in kills were juniors and below, and 3 of the top 4 leaders in serves were juniors as well. The top 4 leaders in blocks are all going to be playing next year as well, so this team will be back and they will be strong next year. Awesome job, Lady Rocks.
Cross country ran last Saturday and Sam Hines finished 10th and the team as a whole placed 4th. The girls team as a whole, however, did not make it out of the contest, although 3 individuals made it to semi-state. At said semi-state, no one made it out, unfortunately. Great season running Rocks.
That's about it for school sports, but fear not, people of Westfield. Winter sports are coming. Basketball, swimming and diving, wrestling, and gymnastics all start within a month. When the time comes, we will cover them, but until then, we'll give you some previews starting in the coming weeks.
We'd also like to use this time to promote possibly the best idea this school has ever had. Tomorrow, Friday the 28th, Sam Mefford, my partner Evan, a special guest, and myself will be hosting a game day-esque broadcast in the Learning Center during core.
Show out and be rowdy so you can be a part of something historic and awesome. We'll be previewing the sectional game versus Carmel, giving in-depth analysis and giving our game predictions. You won't want to miss it. Now back to your regularly scheduled sports show.
The NBA has tipped off, so let's give you some insight. The hometown Pacers are 1-2 at the time of recording, their solo win coming against the Detroit Pistons on Saturday. The day before that, however, they did something pretty cool, which is scoring 49 points in the 4th quarter, nearly clawing a comeback from a rather large deficit.
My player of the opening week is for sure John Morant. He's currently averaging 34.9 points per game with a 49th spot in their second game versus Houston. He and his flashy play style have led the Grizzlies to a 2-1 record so far. Ladies and gentlemen, the Seattle Seahawks are first place in the NFC West. That was my nifty transition into our NFL recap. All right. With the Niners' loss and the Rams' bye, Seattle's 37-23 win over the Chargers catapults them into the winning spot in the division. And I can say confidently that nobody would expect those standings to look the way they look through Week 7.
Even more shocking news, the New York Football Giants are now 6-1. Nobody would expect the Giants to be this good at all. Daniel Jones is playing the best he has played in his whole career, and it also looks like the Giants made the right head coach decision in Brian Dable.
Dak Prescott was on the field following his thumb fracture injury in Week 1. The only look we've gotten from Dak this year was before he got injured in that game where he probably had the worst night of his career. But he bounced back, and he bounced back strong. He propelled the Cowboys over the Lions 24-6 with a promising performance. Prescott had 207 yards passing and a touchdown. He also had a good completion percentage, going 19 for 25. Cowboys are now 5-2 going into the next week versus their home matchup against Chicago. Now to college football, Notre Dame got back over 500 with their win over UNLV 44-21. Star running back Logan Diggs was the spotlight in this one, rushing for 130 yards and 28 carries. This was a much-needed win for the momentum going into the road battle against number 16 Syracuse.
IU continues their unlucky rough patch, dropping 2 more games after this weekend. The first weekend of fall break, they fell to Maryland 38-33 in a heartbreaker. This past weekend, they lost to Rutgers in yet another close one, 24-17. The Hoosiers are now 3-4 overall and 1-4 in the conference. Only a few points in each game separates them from being 3rd in the Big East instead of 7th where they are now. Speaking of a few points separating, let's talk about the Boilermakers. They got beat by Graham Mertz and the Badgers 35-24 at Wisconsin. Purdue does look back to getting Big Ten West contention, approaching a game they should win on the road versus Iowa. Back to speaking about a few points separating, only 8 points total is separating Purdue from being 6th in the Big Ten and 2nd where they are now.
The tables did not turn in Ball State's way as they fell to Eastern Michigan 20-16 on homecoming night. The Cardinals fall back to 500 as they look to get over 500 when they hit the road versus Kent State.
Obviously, the elephant in the room is Tennessee beating Alabama. Nayland was rocking, goalposts were taken out, marched to a river, and thrown in said river, and that might have been the game of the year. The Vols win brings Tennessee in the playoff contention at number 3 as the Crimson Tide fall back to number 6, even after their pounding 30-6 victory over Mississippi State. After that Tennessee win, senior Vols QB and Virginia Tech transfer Hendon Hooker now leads the Heisman race. Evan, do you think Hooker will prevail over Stroud to win the Heisman?
I do not. In fact, there are a couple reasons why. One, I just don't like him. 2 is because he's not really going to be as well and as orchestrated as CJ Stroud will. He's just so good. No, I do not think he will prevail.
I love both of them. I love Hooker and I love Stroud. I feel like those are mainly the only 2 guys that really have a shot at winning the Heisman this year. The one thing that you have to circle on your calendar is Ohio State does go into Michigan, or no, Michigan goes to them. Michigan has a very good defense. If CJ Stroud doesn't perform the way he's been performing this whole year, Hendon Hooker could propel over him if Tennessee wins out, and I think Hooker has a pretty good shot at winning Heisman. I say it's about 50-50 right now.
You also have to take into account that Hooker, I believe, has to go to Georgia or Georgia comes to them, either one. Georgia's an amazing defense. They're an amazing team in general, so you'd have to watch out for that. They both have their big games, and it really will come down to how they perform in them.
If Hooker beats Georgia, maybe like a 250 yards performance, a couple touchdowns, I think that Hendon Hooker should win it if they beat Georgia or he plays well.
It's a toss-up, and shout out to the New York Jets. They're so good. I mean, oh my goodness. Breece Hall, they're just all so good.
Breece Hall didn't play.
Well, yeah, he did. He
played
had
for
that
like
60-yard rushing touchdown,
yeah,
and then got injured. So rest up, Breece Hall. Zach Wilson is my guy, and that is going to wrap things up from the Sports Desk. Thank you so much for watching. Stay breezy and go Rocks.